And we have a video that we want to show from your team and your church's undercover work. This is why I wanted to bring Pastor Tim on, to expose you to pastors who stand, who care more about truth. Here is what you found out while you were on the building watching what was happening. So let's play this.
Yeah, because there's a lot. They're going to talk about opt-in, opt-out today. So, that, and also the rights of students for leaving the campus to have some medical attention concerning certainly pregnancies. So, but I think it's other things too. Because I don't know the rules too. That's all new to me. My name is Mike Marty. I'm the Executive Director of Instructional Services. So, of course, this is a health-focused area, so it falls under Instructional Services. We've been very fortunate to partner with Kira Services. They have a grant to provide these kinds of networks throughout California. It's all about the ed code and the facts, so realize there's some perspectives, but it is, the ed code is pretty clear that it's about the facts and not about something. And so they try to do that. There's some, today I think there's going to be some law that's going to be talked about, so that'll be clear. They'll be very, they tend to be always very clear on the law.
Again, my name is Adriana Rodriguez. This is Ruth Dodson. I work out of our San Bernardino office. So always in the area and available to chat. Okay, so I guess let's get started. Regardless of how old the student is, they can walk into a doctor's office and consent to these services without parental consent. Those services are pregnancy and prenatal care, contraception and emergency contraception, abortion, and so for these, there's no parental notification. I think a good way to think about all of these are just services that California has decided are so important that we're going to allow minors to be able to go into a doctor's office and consent to these services because they're just that important, and students really need to be able to access them. And they're very sensitive in terms of a lot of times students don't want to talk to their parents or guardians about these kinds of issues.
But it's those who can't, right, who are in dangerous situations, who are going to have their college tuition taken away, who are maybe experiencing abuse at home, right, that need to have that barrier cleared for them.
Young people have the right to leave school to seek confidential medical services without the consent or notification of their parents or guardians. And I think the key thing to remember here is that when you're thinking about confidential medical release, the right belongs to the young person. So it doesn't belong to the parent, it doesn't belong to the school. The right lies with the young person. The most important piece of this is that schools cannot share this information with parents or guardians. Also, no parent call. So a teacher or the attendance office can't call home and say, so-and-so was out at, the doctor's office receiving X. Did you know about this? Cannot do that.
Some districts do things like they'll say, oh, the student was with an administrator at this time, and that administrator, they won't answer further questions. It's a little tricky, though, which is why it's kind of more of an art than a science, and there are a few different ways to do it, right? It can't say the student was in class just like every other day, right? Because that's not true to the law for reimbursement reasons, which is why we think kind of the best option is something that is amorphous, doesn't disclose that that person was off campus having a medical appointment, but saying it's an excused absence does not directly violate the law.
And instruction has to teach students about gender, gender expression, gender identity, and explore the harm of negative gender stereotypes. It is not only bias-free, but it is affirmatively inclusive of those folks and relationships. Schools may not facilitate a selective opt-out just of the queer stuff, just of the LGBTQ stuff in sexual health education. We've heard a lot of parents, unfortunately, who say, I really want my kid to learn sex ed. It's important. However, none of the gay stuff. They can't do that. So schools may not facilitate the selective opt-out of lessons that are focused on LGBTQ content by parents or guardians whose students are otherwise in the classroom for other sex ed instruction. Practically, it should be impossible, because the idea with Chaya is that LGBTQ people and relationships are interwoven into the entire curriculum, right? It's not like on day 3 you learn about queer people and everything else is straight people. That's not how it works, right? And so opting out just of the LGBTQ stuff is illegal and should be also impossible.
Well, isn't that lovely?